even the drivers too, like that's why we see stage 1 and stage 2. There's like almost never anything to talk about because they're just riding so respectfully. Nobody wants to ruffle any feathers, ruin anybody's car. We have this manufacturer insane alliance where if you even so much as breathe on your, Chevy, Ford, or Toyota teammate, you get, probably a huge slap on the wrist from those executives or something. So it just is kind of ruining the sport, in my opinion.
Just to go off, piggyback off of that. I mean, the same thing happened to Ross Chastain. Him and Larson had that huge tiff and beef.
Yep.
Of what was it, last season or was it 2 seasons ago?
2 seasons ago. Yeah, like at Darlington and stuff like that.
They had this huge rivalry going on, and it made NASCAR. I'm not going to say it made it interesting because, I mean, obviously we love watching NASCAR. I mean, that's why we're here.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite couch potatoes, a Redneck Boys edition, the season finale. We have finally made it. Season is over. We have a champion, and let's just get it out of the way just so we can focus on the racers that really mattered. Like Wes said, it's official. Kyle Busch did not win a race this season. It's over. Boy, I mean, one of, if not the earliest memory I have, was him winning his first Cup race at Fontana in 2005. So quite a fucking run, I'll say. I think I was 5 years old at the time. 2-decade stretch, has the record over Petty even. Wanted him to keep it going, his whole career and make it harder for someone to reach, because I feel like guys like Larson and Reddick and stuff that are at the top of their game, Blaney, that can keep going, that are still young, can break it. But you know what? It's going to be a hell of a feat if they do. Records are meant to be broken, they say. And hell of a career still. One of the best drivers of these last 2 decades. And you could argue he was the best in the 2010s. So the run's over. For all you non-Kyle Busch fans, you can celebrate. I know it's been something on everybody's radar this year. So there we go. Let's get that out of the way.
Just want to say, I mean, you didn't mention Ross Chastain's name in there, so
I did not.
Just saying, that's.
I guess what has he got, a 2-year now, 3-year run?
Yeah.
He almost lost it this year.
Almost did, but he didn't.
Well, we'll have to see.
Guess you did.
That'd be Kyle Busch.
Yeah, I just needed to hear you say it one more time.
Oh man, what a season to forget for sure. I mean, he's even posted about it as probably the toughest season of his career for sure. I mean, he's had a couple of down years, but even in those years, he's won 1 or 2 races. He's had long stretches without a race win, but now this is currently the longest because I think it's a season and a half. Pretty sure it was July or maybe August the last time he won last season. So yeah, hell of a run. Looks like we're sticking with RCR. So my dream of the 3rd charter in 2311 or anything, that was all nothing but just a dream. But hopefully they bounce back, man. I mean, got no choice, got nowhere to go but up this season. I mean, the 1 win RCR did get, they got it taken away. So, but hell of a run. We'll have to start a new streak, new 20-year streak next season. Why don't we just do that?
Yeah, he's going to be going for that long, huh?
Well, hopefully.
That's some hopeful thinking. Who's after that, though? That's my question.
For me?
Yeah.
Brexton. Let's keep it in the family name.
Is he going to be old enough? I don't know, man.
Well, I think the plan that he said is that once Brexton, I think, goes full-time in trucks, I think they're going to split time when he's 16 or something, because when he's 16, he can only run the 1.5 miles and shorter tracks, I believe. Or maybe it's just a mile and just truck. There's like an age limit for the longer tracks, I guess. So he's going to split the ride is what he said with Brexton for that. and then the next year he would be allowed to go full-time truck. And then I think that's the year Kyle's like, that'll maybe be the dream to just kind of let him take over then. So might be a couple years without Cup, but that's okay. We can take a couple years off. Lord knows after this season I might need one. So well, let's get into it. Before we get to the race, did want to mention Bobby Allison. I know we just talked about him getting the 4th all-time winning list after getting that win back. Unfortunately, we have some sad news. He did just pass away this last Saturday at the age of 86. So just wanted to mention that. Rest in peace to a NASCAR legend. And yeah, congrats on a great career and a great life. Rest in peace, Bobby.
Rest in peace.
Yes, sir. We'll move along. We'll get into the championship race. Before the race, Christopher Bell, he came out and said he felt cheated out of the championship. He felt cheated out of it because of the blocking of the 1 and the 3 car in those last 15 laps. So wanted to get your thoughts on this. My thoughts are basically like, I mean, I don't know how you could say you feel cheated. I get maybe from your perspective, you're going to say that, but like, we know Bubba just intentionally dropped back to let you in and you used the move. Like, I don't know how you could say you felt cheated. I don't think that anybody involved with that instance should really comment on it any more than has already been done.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, and that cheating I feel like was way worse than what the 1 and 3 did. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's somebody intentionally, like, nothing wrong with the car, nothing wrong with the driver, just intentionally falls back to get you into the championship 4. Like, that's cheating to me. What the 1 and 3 did, yeah, okay, I get the viewpoint on that, but like, it's still like, if they were teammates, like actual teammates, then I think that's still fine. But the cheating side of it is because they were only teammates by manufacturer.
Right.
I think that you definitely shouldn't be talking about it, especially because I feel like yours was way fucking worse.
Yeah. I mean, the only person that I've liked hear from this, and which is crazy sounding out of my mouth, is Brad Keselowski, what we talked about last time when he was like, I hope this is a straw that breaks the camel's back, because that whole situation was just kind of bogus. Like you said, if it's a teammate thing and he's not going to pass you because he's out of it, okay, I get that for sure. But like, just the whole situation, it hasn't been that wasn't racing. That really sucked, especially to go to the championship, have this all manipulation tactic thing going on is just kind of crazy. So yeah, not the guy to be talking about it. I don't think any of them are, but like you said, his situation may be a little bit elevated than anybody else's there. So yeah, but anyways, let's get into it. Let's get into the race. We'll start with stage 1. We have a second lap caution when Ty Gibbs, he looked like he had a mechanical issue. I never heard them, might have missed it. I never heard them say exactly what it was. They said maybe a right rear toe link or just a tire going down. Looked more like a toe link to me, but he got into the wall pretty hard, kind of ruined his day. Truex, he started on the pole in his last full-time Cup season. I think he got the pole for the last 2 races, so good for him there. He led the first few laps, but on the first restart of the race, Joey Logano, he was able to use a strong run, take the lead, and then doesn't look back for the rest of the race. We had some good battling further back, but Joey Logano just dominates and wins stage 1. And then stage 2, something I have never seen before, and the announcer said it too, the pace car spins out. It's those water barrels at the entry of pit road. After he made a late decision, it looked like he might have went off the front of the 9 car, which can't blame Chase Elliott at all for that. But what a weird scenario. It just, I don't know if he's going to be driving too many more pace cars going forward. I don't know why you would decide to go down that late.
Yeah, no, I mean that the only reason why I can think he did that is because like somebody called for like, hey, go get down.
Maybe they were
Like,
gonna.
it's
I didn't
time,
watch close
like,
enough,
it's
like another lap or something. Like they were, and he's like, "Never mind." But that
yeah.
shouldn't be
I
a
feel
thing
like the
because they
guy
turn the lights
that's
off.
yeah. I don't know. maybe it's all on the guy that driving the car, but never seen anything like that. But I mean, it kind of sucks for Chase Elliott because I mean, I don't know how much damage it did to the front fender because I mean, a lot
Yeah.
of the stuff on the front of those cars is to make it aerodynamic, and for the pace car to do something like that and then hit you like that's that's the worst fucking luck I've ever heard of.
I think he was okay. I know he came on the radio and he's like, he just pulled it down real late. I don't know what he was doing. And yeah, I think everybody agreed with him, man. Like, that was just a weird scenario, but he was okay. He didn't hit anything. So that was good. But it's just pace car spin. I was always associated the opposite with the pace car. But speaking of the trouble, though, Logano was able to avoid a little bit more. The just another tight pit lane at Phoenix. Justin Haley was exiting his pit stall right as Logano was entering it, so they're talking inches away from Logano's championships being or his championship chances being done that early. But he's able to do it. They go through green flag pit stops without any hitches, and then Blaney comes through and he makes a pass for the lead with 8 to go in stage 2, ends up winning it. So it's kind of looking good for your pick there at the end of stage 2.
Yeah, no, I was excited. Definitely was. But yeah, I mean, shoulda, coulda, woulda on Logano for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Damn it, Haley. Damn it. If that was LaJoy in the
Come
7 car,
on,
we already know.
man. We know what happens with that 7 car. I mean, beer crack. I mean, it just might not be. It might not be just what's his name?
Corey
Corey
LaJoy?
LaJoy. Yeah, Corey
Yeah.
LaJoy. It might not just be LaJoy. I know that he's had some mess ups in the ride that he's in now, but I mean, still that number 7 car I think is cursed, and it almost made me a very happy man. So almost got him.
I feel you. You were you could have redeemed yourself. 7 car, we could have stopped hating on you, but you missed your opportunity. So, all right. So, again, stage 3, the most exciting stage of the race, and definitely this race with it being the championship. A guy we haven't really mentioned yet was Tyler Reddick, and it's because he's kind of been the lame duck of the championship four, so to say. He's the one that's been furthest back. It wasn't like he was doing terrible. I think he was still in the top 10, I want to say, for most of the day, but the other 3 were pretty much top 5 or top 3. So he was kind of fall back. He decides, got to make a move, and it was kind of an impressive move at the beginning of the stage. He goes onto the outside, and he makes a really, aggressive move because it ends up causing contact with the 9 and 17, which was definitely like, if it were any other race, I could see those guys getting upset, but I feel like they both understand too, like, he's going for the championship. It wasn't like an egregiously terrible move. He just kind of forced himself through, so I thought that was pretty sick to see. What were your thoughts on that move by Reddick?
I mean, he's a championship driver, bro. Like he's fighting for his championship, and like, I mean, we were talking about this, I think before the podcast. Reddick was behind most of the day, and in the back of the championship 4. So I mean, you got to be aggressive, especially because your championship hopes are on the line. You really gotta make those aggressive moves. And I know that the announcers were talking about how these drivers were going to be upset, but it's like, do I really give a shit? Like I'm in the championship 4. Like I'm going to be aggressive. I don't give a shit about anybody else on the track. That's my mindset. If I was Tyler Reddick.
No, yeah. I mean, I can't remember. It was a NASCAR podcast. I think they're on Dirty Mo Media. I want to shout them out because they're a good group. But they were talking about just how much it's changed. And they were even talking about it in like lower series where NASCAR's laying down all these penalties and doing all this stuff. And then like saying they didn't have an officiating problem, but then they come like the next sentence and like say that they're going to make changes. And we just got all these things where it's like, it's not the NASCAR that I remembered, like you're saying, where when we're talking about it as the analyst, where it's like, wow, what a move from Reddick there to force his way through. It's like, what the hell else is he supposed to do? Like you said, you're going for a championship. It is a different thing than most championships because you have the entire field still in there, even though they don't, count towards the championship. But yeah, I mean, even I'd say like outside of, but even doing this, like just straight on dumping a guy, especially towards the end of the race in stage three, like everything's on the table. This is win or die. Like we gotta, I don't know. I just feel like NASCAR's getting soft. To be honest, like a lot of sports, we're going that way. We talk about it in our NFL podcast with, you're a big defensive guy and all these rules that are favoring the offense. I feel like NASCAR is just going so soft, and there's these, even the drivers too. Like that's why we see stage one and stage two. There's like almost never anything to talk about because they're just riding so respectfully. Nobody wants to ruffle any feathers, ruin anybody's car. We have this manufacturer insane alliance where if you even so much as breathe on your, Chevy, Ford, or Toyota teammate, you get, probably a huge slap on the wrist from those executives or something. So
Well,
it
and
just is
that's,
kind of ruining the sport, in my opinion.
just to go off piggyback off of that. I mean, the same thing happened to Ross Chastain. Him and Larson had that huge tiff and
Oh,
beef.
yep.
All of what was it, last season or was it two
I
seasons
think
ago?
2 seasons ago. Yeah, like
Um,
at Darlington and stuff like
yeah, they
that.
had
And
this huge rivalry going on, and it made NASCAR. I'm not going to say it made it interesting because I mean, obviously, we love watching NASCAR. I mean, that's why
mhm.
we're here. You know what I mean? But I mean, it made it funner to watch with the rivalry that's on a track like that,
Oh yeah.
um, and it made it exciting. Especially, I mean, I hated it, but when Ross Chastain intentionally turned into Larson on the
Yeah.
final lap of the race on a overtime restart, and but just stuff like that. I mean, nobody's aggressive anymore, and when Ross Chastain did that, he got a huge slap on the wrist. Hendrick Motorsports came out and said like this guy
Oh
needs to
yeah.
stop
Yep.
wrecking our vehicles
Mhm.
and stuff like that. And then the owner of Trackhouse came down and said, "Hey, had a talk with Ross, and now Ross is just not the same fucking driver anymore."
Yep.
Because I
We
bet
talked
you,
about that.
yeah, and I bet you it's because he got threatened about maybe you're not going to be in this sport anymore if you're going to keep wrecking our cars.
Right. And especially, Hendrick's got such a powerhouse organization too. They're in that position. You're 100% right. That's a great point. And to piggyback off of that, like this dude up here, he doesn't win all those races, those championships without driving like that. He was Ross Chastain before Ross Chastain, Denny Hamlin before, and there's a reason that everybody hates Kyle Busch, because he drove like that. He didn't care about things. And to be fair, like a lot of the times it screwed him over. But then he might screw your favorite driver over, outdrive him, and win the race. And how many of those 63 Cup victories are there if he doesn't race like that? I could argue none of them because he had to race like that. That was his style. That's how he came up so fast, and that's why he was the youngest winner forever. And then he had these rivalries with Edwards, with Logano, with Keselowski, and I mean, even if you have a fucking boring ass race at Bristol, but Brad Keselowski comes out and says Kyle Busch is an ass in driver intros, I mean, you got some excitement to talk about. And
Yeah, I mean
so
it's a good rivalry, and I hate to see, and I also think too. I mean, I speaking of conspiracy theories, like the arrow blocking,
mhm,
um, and making it, and we'll get into it a little later because that happened in a big part of this race,
yeah,
and that type of thing makes it so that way it's not interesting to watch anymore because it's just like, and it almost feels like, I know that it's not might not be intentional, but it makes it so that way drivers can't hit each other in the final laps of races. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
And it's just, I don't know, this whole thing with NASCAR getting soft, the drivers are getting soft, and
hmm
the aggressive drivers are getting penalized out the ass about it, and so just everybody drives soft nowadays.
yeah. I genuinely hope, because I mean, you've been talking about it all season, basically from that moment that, yeah, like you said, that Ross got the slap on the wrist for that. Like, I hope it's because it's fun. It's fun to hate on. Ross Chastain was that guy that, like, I felt that for so long as the Kyle Busch fan, where it's like every time Kyle Busch wrecks, everybody's clapping, loving, screaming, everything's good. laughing, whatever. And we were kind of like that, with Ross Chastain. And then when Ross Chastain wins, like, you get to be the bad guy, piss everybody off, do that kind of thing. And now I'm sitting here like, I genuinely hope Ross Chastain gets back into it and doesn't, because even though he did get the race win this year at Kansas, like, it was kind of that same season almost. He was just, instead of running in the 20s, the low 20s, he was kind of the high teens, but not really competing like he had. And like last year, I mean, or the season before, he made the championship. Like, he was genuinely and he,
Yeah, and I mean
he was in
that's
it even without that crazy move. Oh, he doesn't make it without the crazy move. Well, the crazy move, he was like, what, 2 points, 3 points behind or something. So yeah, he was definitely in it. And now he, slipped off to not even being a playoff driver, which is just crazy.
yeah, and I mean, I think it's even like Hamlin. This is like one of the reasons why I don't like Hamlin is because he sits there and talks this big game about how we need to drive respectfully, and there used to be respect for other drivers on the track, and
Mm-hmm.
this is what that turns into. And then, but then Hamlin can go out and bump, people out of the way, drive aggressively, fit into spots where he's not supposed to be.
Yep.
He's caused at least, I mean, off the top of my head, at least 3 or 4 wrecks this season just from driving aggressive.
Yep.
And but he can come out and say that we all need to be respectful of each other, and but
The
I don't
one
know,
guy.
man.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I just it pisses me off because, like I said, Ross Chastain. That was one of the reasons why I loved Ross Chastain when I
Mm-hmm.
first started watching NASCAR, because the first time I watched him, it was at Vegas, and he led pretty much all of Vegas,
Yeah.
and up until the end. And then I was like, "Who's that number 1 guy?" And we looked it up, and I was like, "Yep, that's going to be my guy."
That's the guy. And you could see him make those moves. He did that all throughout. I think, was that I'm trying to remember if that was the season. Was that the same season that he had the wall ride, or was that the season after? Because
That
I
was
can't
the
remember.
season after.
That's what. Okay. But I mean, I feel like we saw it throughout that season, and that definitely the season he made the championship, where he made those kind of moves that you don't see other people do, and be ballsy and be willing to make mistakes, be willing to wreck the race car. But also, if he doesn't wreck this race car, he's going to pass, 4 cars in one turn or something like that. And you pretty much only saw the one car doing that for a while, and now he hasn't, and everybody's just driving like we're driving on the road, if not even nicer. And it's just been a different sport. But anyways, getting off our rant, I mean, we could definitely make an entire episode just about that. But let's get back into this championship race. That's what the people are here for. So we did see after this, we were talking about that move, and I know you saw this. You mentioned this when we were watching it. Blaney, he ends up kind of using that same move, that same outside lane for the majority of this race, and he ends up making a pass for the lead of the championship with at the 50 lap mark in stage 3. So Blaney started to kind of look like maybe he's going to go back to back. This is his race to lose.
Yeah, no, and I mean, like you said, he was making he was making that outside line work pretty damn well all race. And like I think their pit crew saw what Tyler Reddick could do off of that restart on the outside lane, where he basically shot up like, what was it,
It's
like
like 3 or 4
3
spots
or 4
almost by
spots?
the end of the next turn.
Yeah, he got up into 5th, I believe, with that
Mm-hmm.
move, and got right behind the other championship drivers. And so I think Blaney's pit crew saw that, and they tried to use it, and it worked out here.
Yeah. We did have some green flag pit stops right after this, and we're trying to see how it shakes out, because we have some different pit cycles start to happen here. Blaney's able to hold his position. It was starting to look like he wasn't going to get out fast enough, but he does, able to hold off Logano there. And then Byron, he stays out longer than everybody else pretty much, and longer than anybody of the championship 4. So he pits, I think it was about 10, 12 laps after those guys, which, anybody who watches NASCAR, that's an eternity when you are losing time and time and time on that strategy. But then you're trying to, short pit it and stay out and make sure that, you're going to have that run and not have to maybe eliminate a pit stop. So we kind of try to see how that's going to shake out. But then the 71 car spins up, kind of ruins that strategy. Everybody's coming down anyways, and we get a 50 lap shootout for the championship. And Logano used a huge run after this on the restart to make 2 passes for the lead. I think it was with Blaney, and Larson was up there. And so it was honestly an impressive pass. I hate to mention it, but to get those and to get them so early too, because what we see is once you get that clean air, it's really hard to track you down. But Blaney is able to, so he gets up behind Byron, but passes Byron with 22 laps to go, and then starts to chase down Logano and clearly looks like the faster car.
And I
But
mean,
then I
this is like
remember,
3-second lead too that
mm-hmm,
Logano had on the field, because Byron and Blaney were battling for that second position for a good couple laps, and that really let Logano get out there.
yep.
With a good 3-second lead, and I mean, to chase him down like that, I mean, they're on about the same tires, but to chase him down like that was pretty good.
Yeah. And I remember sitting right next to you, and you said, well, he's probably going to get about 7/8 a second before aero blocking comes into play. And
Mm-hmm.
we see that, he is making up time, like you said, just quickly. And as soon as he gets to within that range, he couldn't make up any more time. And Logano's able to hold on to the lead and is your 2024 NASCAR Cup Series champion. So, congratulations to Joey Logano. Shout out TJ. Your boy's a 3-time champion now. I'm sure I won't ever hear that held over my head about my 2-time favorite driver. But yeah, didn't want to see that. One, because of just Logano in general. Two, because he was going to get one more championship. But yeah, shout out, and hell of a way for the 22 to team just to kind of surprise everybody. Like we said, they were down we talked about it week after week. They're down in the power rankings. Oh, wow. He's up to, I remember probably we said stuff like he's up to 12. This bullshit. There's, Chase Briscoe's having a better season or something like that, but he really kind of turned it on and won Vegas. I saw a thing. I guess I can't remember it off the top of my head, but the last time he won a championship, he won Vegas off of strategy, which kind of propelled him to the series lead and to the championship. But yeah, used a really strong race in the round of 8. And you know what's crazy to say too? If it wasn't for Alex Bowman and those cheating Hendricks, I think TJ owes him an apology because he's been talking about him all year. If it wasn't for that, he wouldn't have been in the round of 8. He would have been eliminated, and we'd had a different champion. So yeah, what are your final thoughts on the race and Joey Logano being a Cup Series champion? 3-time.
Yeah,
3-time.
3-time. Yeah, I mean, coming down to the stretch, I even called it too. As soon as he got up close enough to Logano, I was like, "Yep, that's there." And here comes the aero blocking. Logano's just going to stay right in front of him, and he's not going to be able to get past like 0.2 seconds
Mm-hmm.
behind him. And lo and behold, that's what happens. Which really, it just really makes it not interesting to watch, because I mean, you've seen it all season, and I mean, I'd rather have them, like, even if Ross was up there in first and was trying to be a championship driver, it's more interesting to watch a battle. You know what I mean? At the end of a race, at
Mm-hmm.
the end of a championship race, I would have much rather have seen, you know, Ross trying to block him with his car and not with the air.
Yeah.
So I just feel like that takes more skill anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, I mean, really, I think the better driver would come out if you had to do it that way, which I feel like NASCAR had for a long time until these next gen cars.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, congrats to Joey, I guess. Um,
Could tell we're so
I,
excited to say that. Well, that's another thing too that kind of comes out after this is the format. Not only the cars, but the format in general is getting a lot of heat throughout NASCAR fans and NASCAR drivers. Denny Hamlin, of course, came out against this playoff format. Typical Denny Hamlin. Yep, just because you can't win a championship, you gotta blame it on the playoff format,
Yeah,
huh?
sit there and bitch.
But I think a lot of NASCAR fans are like this. I read up on this article about it when they first introduced the chase in 2004, I believe, which made the last 10 races the playoffs. So you had the regular season and the playoffs, but you could still there weren't rounds, there weren't knockout rounds or anything. So whoever made the chase, and I want to say it was 10 drivers, um, they just, it was basically like a new season after that. And I think you still got the bonus points. But there's a lot of people that didn't like that. But then when this playoffs came out, they didn't like that either. And Joey Logano definitely came out and said he didn't like it because people are saying that the title isn't real because of the format. And he says to say the title isn't real is a bunch of bull. And honestly, hate to say it again, but I agree with Joey Logano because if you look at it like in NFL terms, right? What was one of the craziest things I can think of off the top of my head that a lot of fans love to see was 2007 Super Bowl. 18-0 Patriots come in, are overwhelming favorites, and just should dominate this Super Bowl. Giants barely made it into the playoffs, won on the road to get there, and they end up being the champions, and I don't think anybody's complaining about the playoff format there because, the Patriots were 18-0 and hadn't lost. What are we supposed to use all their points? Like the Giants have to score 400 more points or whatever that the Patriots scored. So I get it because yes, you're definitely gonna say Logano was not the best driver this year. I mean, we've been talking about it all year, where we've been talking about guys like Larson, Byron, Hamlin, Blaney, Reddick, who we would all say had a better season than Logano. But at the same time, Logano has proven that he can show up when it counts. The 22 team can show up when it counts, put him in position to win the championship. And the thing is, in this race, it was him and Blaney. Him and Blaney were the class of the field. Byron was kind of up there, but it was really those two cars. And that's all you need to do. All you need to do is be there when it matters. We've seen it time and time again with so many different teams and so many different sports. So I think I like it because it's going to create more excitement. What do you love to see about the playoffs? You love to see the upsets. We had it just last year. Cowboys lose to the Packers. Everybody thought the Cowboys would win. Yada, yada, yada. We could rattle off all these examples, but yeah, I don't think we should go back or just have it based on, what excitement is it if, we're talking about guys like Larson and stuff who had won so many races. And like I said, that's what kind of it kind of made NASCAR boring was you had championship races there were a 27 point gap or something like that. I remember, and Hamlin was in it with Jimmy Johnson, and all Jimmy needs to do is finish 21st to win the championship. There's no excitement in that. So I have to agree with Joey Logano, man. Why would you call the title not real? It's a playoff format pretty much like any others. I like it, and I think it should stay.
I I have to agree with Denny Hamlin here.
Oh,
No, I'm just fucking kidding. Fuck Denny Hamlin. No, I mean the playoffs are there for a reason. I mean, we've talked about Jimmy Johnson in his dominant stretch or stuff like that, and it's just makes NASCAR more fun to watch. It gives every driver that is good enough to make the playoffs, it gives them a chance to make it. And to go along with Logano, man, he won one race to make it into the playoffs this season. And then he wins two races, right? Just two?
yeah,
He
in the
won
playoffs.
two races in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Well, I guess three with the championship.
Three with the
he won it
championship, yeah.
and Vegas. Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, this guy, we talked about it all season. This isn't his season. He's getting old. He might be washed now. No, he got the minimum that he needed to do to get into the playoffs and just flip the switch. And I think I even called it right before the playoffs. I was like, this Logano. I picked Logano because of his veteran savvy, and he's been in this position, and this be the reason why he could win this thing. And lo and behold, that's what happened. You know what I mean? Like he had the experience. He turned it on when he needed to. He did the bare minimum during the season. And then as soon as the playoffs hit, he's a different fucking driver. And
Yeah.
which, I mean, congrats to Joey Logano. You got to give him props there. You know what I mean? He did what he
Mm-hmm.
needed to do to get his championship. And even with that too, I mean, I don't even think Logano had the worst odds to win that race. I think it was,
I think it was Reddick.
was it Reddick or was it Byron?
Byron might. I think Reddick did. I want to say Reddick was the lowest. But
But I mean,
anyways, it was.
they
Yeah, I
even
think it
had,
was Blaney and then Logano.
yeah,
Like
but they
he
even
had
had
top two
like the
ads.
stats guys, even after the season that Logano had, the stats guys even had him at number 2.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he was barely behind in the odds to the almost 2 years in a row champion. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
That's the, I don't know, man. It's I just I think that this gives you a chance to be able to get all these different drivers besides like a Larson, besides like a Byron, besides like Denny Hamlin, these guys that dominate all season long. You know what I mean? It gives these
Mm-hmm.
other drivers a chance to go win a championship.
Yeah. And, show up when it counts. And who deserves to do it is the person that shows up when it counts, and that's what makes it exciting. All right. And now we're going to get into our grid challenge. So, after it is all said and done, let's go over it. I remember we talked about we had the same round of 16 picks, or so the round of 12, except for one pick, which was you picked Bowman over Briscoe, and you got that one right. And so you had the lead on me there. And then we made the exact same picks for the round of 8, which were all right for us. We kind of saw that one coming, writing on the wall with Cindric, Suarez, Bowman, and Briscoe. Like, we know those guys were a titch below. And then for our championship picks, we talked about it last week where I had Byron, Reddick, Bell, and Larson. And then you had, what was it, Blaney, Larson, Bell, and Hamlin. Yeah. And so I got one more than you, and then neither of us got our championship pick. So I end up winning the playoff grid challenge by one. So let's go. But yeah, neither of us get the championship. So that was fun to do. Definitely keep along with that. I mean, yeah, I wish we could have had it a little more kind of exciting, but honestly, those picks we felt like were easy to make. I mean, especially the only surprises I feel like we really had was the round of 16 when you had guys like Truex and Gibbs get eliminated while Suarez, Cindrix of the world made it. But yeah, fun championship grid challenge. Glad we got to do that, and yeah, I think now it's just time to look back on this season as a whole, man. I don't really want to, but it's like I've been saying, a season to fucking forget, man. I mean, I know we had the couple of weeks stretch where Kyle was actually doing good there at Daytona and Darlington. But yeah, other than that, man, they just never really had the speed. You never really saw them up there. You saw a few top tens sporadically throughout the season, but a lot of them were either kind of based on strategy or different things. I know we did see him try to do some different strategy this year, which was cool, where, they'd stay out longer or whatever. But I remember him doing that at Indianapolis, and then he wrecked himself in top 5 position, and there's all kinds of stuff. But even for you too, like we said, we've kind of talked about your driver and Ross Chastain with it not being as exciting of a season, and we see how his performance has kind of gone down as what we believe is because of the slap on the wrist, because we don't feel like he can race to his full capabilities, and so, but other than that, I don't know. I mean, I know we saw a lot of Hamlin and Byron early season domination. Larson kind of was spread throughout. We had some surprising winners. We had Harrison Burton win. We had Cindric win. Briscoe out of nowhere to get that last championship spot, and champions like Keselowski get off early, and all kinds of different stuff. Truex with his terrible season. So yeah, do you have any thoughts on the 2024 season as a whole?
It really wasn't a fun season for either of our drivers. So,
No, it was not.
um, I know that at the beginning of the season, Ross Chastain had a little bit more of a chance. I know that he was in some spots to win there at the end. I think he had about 5 races in total this season that he kind of had a chance to get in there. But just kind of ended up short, or somebody spinning him out. Everybody else can be aggressive except for the guy that got the slap on the wrist.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, you see a Larson dominated season. Um, just Hendrick Motorsports in general, besides Bowman, that kind of just dominated the season. And I really feel like it's like a Toyota. I feel like Toyota kind of dominated the season a little bit just as a whole. Because I mean, yeah, and it's just sad season for both of our drivers. Obviously, not for TJ,
Yeah.
but fun season overall.
Yeah. And I mean, it's crazy. I would agree with you when you say, Hendrick kind of dominated, Toyota dominated, and look who we have as the champion, a Ford. And it's, I think, back to back or 3 times, because I think, who was it, Joey Logano that won in 2020? I'm gonna look it up.
I
Or
believe
2022, my
I
bad.
believe he won in 2022. He's won every even fucking year.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he won. Oh, I guess freaking screw you, Google, man. It doesn't even have the. Man, this is awesome. Yes, okay, finally, I found it. Love the technology troubles. I thought it would have just been easy to Google in 2022 champion, but I guess it wasn't, especially since he won in 2023. But yes, he did win in 2022. So we have 3 straight Penske Ford championship races, championship wins. So yeah, that's why we've been hearing a lot of TJ shit. But even this season, that was funny too, because like you said, and like we've said, he's kind of getting older. TJ's been the most like strong proponent of that, I think, of any of us. Every time he'd tell me, because I'd be sitting there like getting pissed or like be involved with Kyle Busch, and he'd be like, dude, our drivers are done. Okay. They're old. They're not. And I don't know how many times he said that. And now his drivers won the championship,
Oh
but
man, he fucking shifted to he became a Blaney fan.
literally.
Literally became a Blaney fan like halfway through the season, and then his driver ends up winning the championship. Or his
Oh
second
man.
driver. It's his second driver.
Yeah, second driver, depending on, he
Yeah.
almost went back to Brad at one point, then it was
Uh-huh.
Blaney, never really Logano, but until the championship race, I think he was in it. But yeah, that's kind of a wrap on the 2024 season, man. That was definitely an interesting one. I mean, I know it's not been our favorite. There's been things here and there. We've talked about this aero blocking we've never been a fan of since day one, since we've really seen it become, and it just seems to become more prevalent, but still love this sport. Why else would we be here doing this if we didn't? So let's look on to 2025. I don't know about you, but I'm definitely excited to move on to 2025 and get on. And I know we're going to have some different things switching up. We're going to have some schedule changes and an in-season tournament that we talked about. So let's kind of go over that again. Because honestly, I don't want to say I forgot about it, but it slipped my mind. And yeah, so we're gonna have some different media packages. I know you were excited about this. You're like, I can finally watch some races at home and not have to go out to a bar or come over every single weekend. But yeah, we got Prime Video. We'll have a few races. TNT is gonna have it, and on Max as well. So yeah, that'll be super nice to have that. And to go into the in-season tournaments, I know we talked about it before, but it will have 3 races prior to the tournament starting, and the tournament is going to be on TNT. The 3 races prior are going to be on Prime, and that will determine the seeding. And basically, it'll just go by best finish, and then the tiebreakers will be second best finish. So if you got 3 different winners in there, then you go to their second best finish, then you'll go to their season points. And then basically we're just going to set up like a bracket. So we're going to have 1 and 32, 2 and 31, 3 and 30, so on and so forth. We're going to go down, and then over those 4 races, going to eliminate it down to 2 people who will race for $1,000,000. So definitely exciting. I know you're definitely not scoffing at $1,000,000. I think we've talked about it in the past. You have mentioned where that's not quite as much as a lot of these purses for actually winning the race. But I think it creates a little more incentive, and we see it even like the NBA debuted this last season, and I think it's not like great. You're not going to get the non-casual fans to not pay attention. I don't know if it's going to really create that, but why not throw something in like this and it doesn't really mess with the you know the regular season too much, the playoffs and everything. Creates a little bit of excitement, and you can see you can follow along with the brackets, and I'm pretty sure these drivers will still be racing hard for an extra $1,000,000. I mean, it is NASCAR. It's not like it's they're NFL athletes, NBA athletes, or whatever. I'm sure they're going to want that extra $1,000,000. So I'm excited to see how this plays out in the first season.
Yeah, and I mean it's like you said, it's not going to catch the casual or the not casual fan to come in and watch um, NASCAR, but it's definitely something in the middle of the season that could be exciting, and we'll kind of see how the drivers want to look at it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but I mean, at that same time, I mean, they're still trying to get points for the actual playoffs, and so, I mean, drivers may try to start driving a little harder, and and tournaments always bring the worst out of people, but that makes for some of the best. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. No, I know. I know exactly what you mean. Bring out the worst for the drivers, but the best for the fans.
Yeah.
And the most excitement, and yeah, the rivalries. Maybe like we've talked about, the things that we're starting to miss in NASCAR. I think what you're saying is hopefully we get a little bit of that back, maybe with
Just
this tournament.
let's just hope that NASCAR does not decide to throw penalties on every little tiny thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
you want the drivers to be, if you want the problem is that the non-casual NASCAR fan, the only reason why they even see like even just a NASCAR clip is to see a car wreck.
Yeah.
You know
Car
what I mean?
wreck, drivers fight,
Yeah.
that's been a big thing. And yeah, that's what's gonna get you more that's what's brand awareness. That's just what's not making sense about the way NASCAR is going, like, and they're going away from all the stuff that I think can get them so much more popular and so much more in the, common American eye or whatever you want to call it. I know they're trying to go out like we got a race in Mexico this next season, doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, hopefully the tournament bring this stuff back, because we need to get back to those kind of days in NASCAR for sure.
Yeah. No, and I really hope for this next season, that I just my biggest hope for the next season is that NASCAR doesn't, like I said, penalize drivers for being aggressive. They don't, and I really want NASCAR to get away from this factory teammate bullshit that's been going on,
Mm-hmm.
especially this season. Because, like I think I brought it up in the last podcast. I mean, you have all these teammate factions working together, or all these manufacturer factions working together in the playoffs, but that happens throughout the season all the time. It
Yep.
might not be as noticeable, but the one that sticks out in my mind a lot that we made a lot of fun of was the Toyota fuck up at, what was it? Is it Daytona?
Daytona, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and the whole manufacturing crew just came down into pit, and they were
Mm-hmm.
all going to work together to get it has this strategy. You know what I mean? And I just think that's bullshit, because then you're basically going to have 3 teams against each other.
Yeah.
And that's going to make for really, I think, bad driving,
Mm-hmm.
and really, really boring races. And so I think that if you could have, just the teammates that are on the teams that they're signed to work together, just like how it's, built to be,
Yeah.
and get this manufacturer teammate bullshit out of NASCAR, I think that would make next season so much more fun.
I 100% agree. We don't have to, it's not like, we're asking you to go out and wreck, or that they need to just drive like crazy, but just this soft, working together. I mean, can you, I like Dale Earnhardt Sr. working with even his own teammate for one, but
Yeah.
a Chevy to go to the championship, like there's no fucking way he would wreck every single Chevy to make it to the championship if he had to, and everybody loved him for it. You know what I mean? And so, like, I understand it's not Dale Senior's time anymore. It's not that era where we're changed. I get that, but we are getting way too far. Let's find a happy medium for sure.
Well, and
Um,
I understand that NASCAR is trying to keep the drivers safe, and we're
mhm.
not saying that we want the drivers to get hurt or anything in
Nope.
that matter, but it makes for a more exciting race when you see those wrecks. And these cars. I mean, there an injury this season that kept a driver out of the car. Besides, I think there was a concussion that happened, if
I
I'm
know
not
Kurt Busch
mistaken.
had a concussion. That's the last one I can remember. I can't remember anybody. I know Kyle Busch hurt his wrist um, on one, but he still raced. He
But
just
like
kind of had to have tape and stuff, but not like to keep him out.
the biggest injury that I seen was no, who was it? The dude that it was Chase Elliott that kept him out for
Oh,
half the season, but he got hurt snowboarding,
yeah, it
and it
wasn't in the
wasn't
car.
even a
Yeah.
car. You
Yep,
know what I
yep,
mean?
yep.
Like, like, and we've seen cars flip this year. We've seen cars go like head first into
Mhm.
walls, and these guys aren't getting major injuries. Like these cars are I think, almost as safe as you can make a car going 200 miles an hour.
Seriously.
You know what I
Seriously.
mean?
Yeah.
And I don't think that you should go away from that aggressiveness.
No, no, definitely not. So hopefully we get a little more of that back. We will see, at least a shakeup in the playoffs. I wanted to mention. So going through like the round of 16. So Darlington has usually been that elimination or the last regular season race. Now they just kind of moved it back. So now it's going to be that Coke Zero 400, which will be the elimination one, which is just gonna be wild, because anybody could anybody could win there. Harrison Burton did it last year, and so that'll be interesting to see. Darlington will become the first race of the playoffs, and then we'll have Worldwide Technology Raceway, which is the last track that Kyle Busch won at. It's the one that Cindric he won because of, I believe, a Blaney issue this
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
Yeah.
Blaney, Blaney ran out of gas, didn't he?
Yeah, so like with 2 laps to go or 1 lap to go. That's right. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
How could we forget? We made so much fun of it for that. But yeah, so we'll see that, and then Bristol's still going to be the elimination race for the round of 16. I don't know. Like this year, we had Watkins Glen, which I thought was a really good race, and also Atlanta, which they are moving out of the playoffs. And I don't know. At least on the route of 16, I think I like the old one more than the new one. I don't know what you think, but yeah, we'll have to see how the round of 16 goes on that one.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. Like, I liked the setup that we had this season. I feel like Atlanta brings some really good racing. I don't know why you would want to get rid of that one. Um, Bristol's Bristol, Bristol
Mm,
baby. That's cornerstone. I just maybe we'll have to see what happens with this worldwide technology race. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I personally would like to see Atlanta again, but I feel like
yeah,
Atlanta brings out a really good racing. So
I agree. And then in the round of 12, we're going to have New Hampshire, which is a similar to Worldwide Technology Raceways, those smaller, flatter tracks. And then we have Kansas still, and then Charlotte, the road course. So we still have the Roval there. So then this year was Kansas, then Dega, then the road course. Don't worry, we're not getting rid of Dega. They're just putting it into the round of 8, even further into the playoffs to make it more chaotic. Still Vegas and Martinsville in that one. And then, of course, the championship at Phoenix. And then I think I've talked about it how one of those races that's been removed is Homestead, which I think New Hampshire was not in the playoffs this year. So, if anything, that's the race that was switched out, which I'm going to be real upset about, to be honest. I mean, we talked about it last week. One of the best races and the best finish, probably. You could probably say that was the best finish of the playoffs. And we actually did have a last lap pass, and it was, the track's so damn wide that aero blocking becomes less of a factor there, right? So I'm kind of bummed about that, but honestly, overall, I think it'll still be an exciting playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that the only thing I think it'll definitely be an exciting playoffs, especially with Dega being in the round of 8. That
Mm-hmm.
throws a wrinkle into everything because, like you said, anybody can win there. That anything can happen.
Anybody can lose there too,
Yeah,
right? Anybody can get wrecked out.
yeah, you get wrecked out. I mean, and it's a wild card of a race, and since it's in the round of 8, I mean, to get into the championship 4, like that's that could be for some crazy racing. I think the only other thing is I've been a NASCAR fan for the last 4 seasons. um I kind of want to see a different, I couldn't tell you which one I want, but I kind of want to see a different championship track.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Phoenix Raceway has kind of ran its course, and I would like to see a new track in the championship.
I would agree with you, and I know I've been one because basically before I can't remember. Has it just been Phoenix the entire time you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Since
so
for the last 4 years at least.
yeah, before then it was Homestead. When I've been one that's saying that I like Homestead more as the championship race, I'd like a different one. I think that you stick with the format of what most of the races are, which is a mile and a half. Like I don't know if I'd quite want to see. Definitely don't want to see like a road course or a super speedway be the championship race. I'd like a mile and a half. The short tracks. Short tracks. Some of my favorite racing. I can't really explain why I wouldn't really want to see that in the championship. I think mainly because you have some more short track drivers and like you have more super speedway drivers, but the mile and a halfs I feel like are most diverse, I guess you could say, where more like there's more drivers that are able to run those kind of races, and it's because that's where the majority of the races are on the NASCAR circuit. So yeah, I agree with you. I'd like to see something else. Maybe we will. I feel
You
like
know,
NASCAR's liking Phoenix. That's just kind of like
yeah,
that's nothing that I've heard, but it's just the kind of feeling I
it's
have
a
that they
different
like it.
type of racing, I feel like, because it's not an oval. Everybody likes to make
Mm-hmm.
fun of NASCAR. Oh, left
Yeah.
turn, left
Yep.
turn. And it's on an oval, and it's a different type of racing, and so I think that might be why they like it so much. I feel like the best races that I've seen have been Kansas or even Atlanta. I feel
Yeah.
like, especially now that they pushed it out to, it's a smaller super track, or it's a smaller, what is that, super
Super
speedway.
speedway. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But
a
it used to be
smaller
just
super
a typical
speedway.
mile and a half,
Yeah,
and they reconfigured it.
and I know that we complained about Atlanta a little bit, I think, when we watched the race,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not as wide of a track, and so changing it into the super speedway was we kind of dogged it a little bit there. But I feel like we've seen some good racing out of it, especially this season.
Yeah.
And Kansas, I feel like always has a good race every time I watch it. So
The one race Ross Chastain won this year. Wonder what
not
else.
even just speaking off of that, because I mean, didn't we have the 3 wide, like,
Yeah,
closest
that was
finish
the closest finish in NASCAR history,
in
right? Yeah,
NASCAR
the
history?
mm-hmm. Yep. So
So I
okay,
mean,
all
I
right. It's not just the okay.
because he's also one of Atlanta too. So I don't know what you want from me, but
Oh man. Well, I think that's all we got for you. So I'll just say this. One last final beer crack for the NASCAR season. It has been so much fun, honestly, to bring this to you guys. It's been really a blessing for me. I love to talk about this stuff and love to share it with you guys. And I'm glad that we've gotten a good following to follow along. And we'll definitely miss our NASCAR fans until next season. But like we talk about all the time, the good news is NASCAR is the shortest off season, so it won't be too long. We'll be back for the Clash. And yeah, other than that, just of course, like always, make sure to check out the episodes on YouTube and Spotify. We'll drop this one Saturday, I believe, so we'll make sure to post about that. And make sure to follow along with all off-season talk, so we will be able to recap that as soon as we get back. And then other than that, make sure to check us out on the socials. Give us a likes, follows, and comments on Instagram, YouTube Shorts, and TikTok. Yeah, Wes, do you have any final thoughts for the fans out there?
yeah, I mean, Thanks for joining us on this journey this year. It's definitely been a fun ride to bring this content to you guys and kind of be able to speak our thoughts on the internet. So
Lots of fun, lots of fun. And of course, no one does it better than the Redneck Boys on your favorite couch potatoes. So, yeah, we'll catch you next season on the couch. See ya.